Get ready for Changing Worldviews with Sharon Hughes, the 30-minute show packed with an hour's worth of information, bringing you familiar guests on important issues such as immigration, education, the Middle East, culture, religion, and the changing worldviews of Americans and the world. You've seen her on Fox News, you've read her on the World Wide Web. Now here's Sharon.
For such a time as this.
Freeing the minds of the brainwashed masses.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Changing Worldviews. Today, the first openly gay Episcopal bishop divorces his husband. Gene Robinson, the first openly gay bishop of the Episcopal Church, publicly announced he is divorcing his husband. The gay couple were married in 2010 when New Hampshire legalized gay marriage. The union created an international uproar, and many Episcopalians broke away from the main church as a result. A 25-year-old counselor for the Cherry Hill Women's Center decided she wanted to share, quote, a positive message when she became pregnant and had an abortion. Yes, she actually took a video of herself having an abortion.
Oh, my goodness!
The California legislature is also looking at a voluntary program that would tax motorists for every mile they drive. Senator Mark Del Saulnier of Concord introduced a bill to test out the vehicle miles traveled tax because the state's gas tax is no longer bringing in the revenue it used to due to people driving more fuel-efficient vehicles. What? I know. NBC predicted that by the year 2017, all America will be tagged with microchips. They will be implanted to help identify individuals immediately, according to a report.
By that time, there may be all kinds of new ways to safeguard and identify all those things that make each of us unique, our faces, even our fingerprints, even our eyes.
The year is 2017. You're rushed to a hospital unconscious with no ID or medical history, but thanks to a microchip under your skin, it's all there. Science fiction 20 years ago, but a biometric reality today.
The technology is based on answering one simple question. Am I who I say I am?
Already, fingerprints and iris scans verify passenger identities at airports. Within 10 years, that technology may be even more widespread. And look for more complex facial recognition programs that scan a crowd of thousands looking for a single terrorist.
The report also reveals that an RFID brain chip that has been developed and is currently being tested on several humans is in the works, as well as RFID microchips in Obamacare. H.R. 4872, located on page 1014, under, quote, National Medical Device Registry, tells about a Class 2 device that is implantable and part of Obamacare. In a unanimous 71-0 vote last Thursday with no debate or discussion, the California State Assembly passed a bill that would require the state's Board of Education to teach students the racial significance, quote unquote, of Barack Obama's presidency as part of the standard history, social science curriculum in the Golden State. And that's what we're going to be talking about on today's show. Education. What is going on in education as we look at the things that families are facing today? And specifically, we're going to be talking about Common Core federal standards, the goal for every school in the United States. Today, what you need to know.
You're listening to Sharon Hughes, coming to you from the Wild Wild West, and we mean wild.
Thanks for staying with me, everyone. Okay, as we look at education today, researcher Jack Hassard, who is professor emeritus at Georgia State, made the claim that Bill Gates has spent $2.3 billion pushing Common Core. Now, Bill Gates has given more than 1,800 grants that went to organizations from teachers' unions to state departments of education to political groups like the National Governors Association, quote, with a little transparency and next to no public review. Why? Because Gates is planning on getting lots of money back from the sale of his many products. Hassard adds, but the Common Core comes with common high-stakes tests and common textbooks, making the standards more than standards. What do we need to know about this, whether we're parents or grandparents or just concerned Americans? An interview recorded earlier on this very subject with President of California Eagle Forum, Orlean Koehle, who has also been instrumental in forming a coalition of organizations against Common Core. Here's that interview.
When you have programs like Race to the Top and especially Common Core, socialist education, re-educating our kids, part of the fundamentally transforming America, what can we do? I guess education, we start there, right, with ourselves.
Yes, and that's why I would love everyone to be able to find out about Common Core. And just to go along with, I was so thrilled to find out that Mitt Romney was aware of it. And when he was asked, he was actually attending an education summit in New York. It was a national summit, and he was asked by a reporter, Brian Williams, what he knew about Common Core. And he said, I don't subscribe to the idea of the federal government trying to push a Common Core on various states. It's one thing to put it out as a model and let people adopt it as they will, but to financially reward states based upon accepting the federal government's idea of a curriculum, I think is a mistake. And then he said, there may be a time when the government has an agenda that it wants to promote. And I'm not wild about the federal government having some kind of agenda that it then compensates states to teach their kids. I'd rather let education and what is taught state by state be determined state by state, not by the federal government. And if there's ever a time that someone in the federal government has an agenda, that's right now under Obama. His agenda is amazing, and under this Common Core program, we will see our children taught in such a way and propagandized and indoctrinated into accepting more and more of Obama's idea of socialism.
Well, can you give us examples that our listeners can grab onto? You, yourself, an educator for years and years. You still are an educator in addition to everything else that you do. So I guess I would say, according to your book, you've got a lot of really good information there. But what would you say the top 2 or 3 concerns about Common Core are for you?
Well, one of the things that Obama did by executive order, he changed the FERPA law. And it was the law it stands for Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, and it was the law that would protect children's rights to not be having to have data put out on them. So it was protecting their rights against invasive data. That's totally changed now, so that data is being collected on our students as well as the teachers and the administrators. And where this data goes, who knows? And it's much more than just your health record or your name and address. It is biometrics, so that means like fingerprints on the children. It'll tell what kind of religion their family has, what kind of political persuasion, and, of course, all of their test scores now, everything is going to be done by computer, so those test scores will immediately go to this data collection on our students. And it's scary, so that's one big thing that I'm concerned about. The second is, you've mentioned how really this is socialism big time. I have a section in my book that compares it to what Hitler's education was like back during Nazi Germany's time. And one of the things that he had were master teachers that would go into the classrooms pretending that they were there to train the teachers, but really they were the spies to make sure the teachers were totally doing what Hitler wanted. And Obama has the same thing. He has 10,000 master teachers that will only answer to him. He's already said that they were his master teachers, and they're to be supposedly training the other teachers throughout the nation, but they only get their salary from him, from the federal government. They're not answerable to any local districts or state districts, and I'm sure that they will be the ones that are out there as the spies to make sure Common Core is being taught as he wants it to be.
Now, wait a minute. I haven't heard about this either, Orlean. How did he recruit? I mean, who are these 10,000 teachers? Did he pull them from the public school system and call them in and say, hey, I want you to be my shining stars here, and I'm going to pay you, and this is what you have to do? I mean, how did that come about?
I have no idea what the details are, but they proudly talk about it on the government website, announcing the Master Teacher Program, and, maybe the teachers get to apply for this position.
We have to take a break here. Stay with us. We'll be right back. I want to tell you about a great event that's coming up in the San Francisco Bay Area. Wind and Fire Ministries and Glad Tidings Church present Releasing the Sound of Trumpet on May 9th and 10th at Glad Tidings Church on Webster Street in San Francisco. Guest speakers include Chuck Pierce, Dutch Sheets, James Vincent, Miles Weiss, co-host of Zola Levitt Television Ministries, Vicki Norden, and many others. The cost is $30 per person and $45 a couple. Register at www.rpnca.org. rpnca.org. Online registration closes May 5th, so go to the website and register right away. The schedule begins Friday, May 9th at 2 p.m. and Saturday, May 10th, concluding at 2 p.m. Glad Tidings Church, San Francisco, California, and also go to visitbethshalom.org for exciting videos of other ongoing events in the San Francisco Bay Area. Releasing the Sound of Trumpet. Register at www.rpnca.org. rpnca.org. May 9th and 10th. An exciting and power-packed 2 days, and I hope to see you there.
Sharon Hughes, your genuine alternative voice, bringing you commentary on the issues that matter most. If you'd like to change the world, won't you partner with us? Just go to changingworldviews.com/donation page and sign up online. Or send your donation to Changing Worldviews, P.O. Box 750624, Petaluma, California 94975-0624. You'll not only help us stay on the air in your area, but it's a way to let Sharon know you're standing with her.
Thanks for staying with me. Okay, my interview with President of California Eagle Forum, Orlean Koehle.
The other interesting thing is they have something called Race to the Top for districts. So if the state has said no to it, like Texas, Alaska, Virginia, Nebraska, and part of Minnesota. Minnesota accepted the English and part of it, but not the math part. For those states that have said no, their districts can say yes all on their own. So they can apply for money coming down from Obama, from the stimulus package, all on their own. And guess how many of the districts applied? 893. But people are just so desperate for money, and they think, yay, Obama's offering all this free money. They just don't realize all the strings that are attached. And then only maybe 15 to 20 will actually get the money, and yet 893 districts were willing to do that all on their own.
Wow.
In my book,
wow.
I have a picture called Race to the Trough, and that shows all these districts that are applying all on their own. The districts themselves will be left holding the bag if the state has accepted this. So about half of the money for the states will be coming from the state education department, but the rest, they're left to the districts themselves, and they just can't afford these millions of dollars that it's going to take.
Right. Well, in your book, you talk about why this top-down national socialized education system would be harmful. You said it's a violation of the 10th Amendment. Tell our listeners about that.
Well, our founding fathers were very wise, and they wanted education to be left to local control and to parents. And so they said anything that is not written in the U.S. Constitution is to be left to the states. And that's what the 10th Amendment says. And there's not a single word in the Constitution that mentions education that was left to the states. And there are actually 3 national laws that protect against a national program. But Obama has tried to go against those or around them by stating that this is really just a local state initiative. And he's tried to say that by calling it a Common Core State Standards Initiative. But really it was written by a national cartel. The states had very little to anything to do in its writing. Those school board members who were sent from each of the states, their input was something like a suggestion box input. The national standards were already written, but they were kind of Delphied into thinking that this was their program and they had any input at all. But the people who wrote it was a national cartel that consisted of the National Governors Association, the Council of Chief State Schools Officers, that's called CCSSO, and a Chief Education Policy Group that was part of the National Governors Association. And they were joined by members of the Obama administration, a very progressive group called Achieve, and then the teacher unions, the NEA, the FTA, that's called the Federal Teachers Association, and then members of the College Board and the ACT. And that's the other thing. The new president of the College Board has already stated that they are going to align the SAT and the ACT tests to go along with the Common Core. So they will be dumbed down to the Common Core standards as well. And that's the other thing. The Common Core standards are not high. They say, oh, these are so much better standards. They're much more robust. Well, however they define robust. But they're not better. The math and the English is all that is out there now. And the math is dumbed down so that algebra is not taught in the 8th grade. It's postponed to the 9th grade, making it so that there really will be no time in the high school career for calculus if they go according to their schedule. And then the English, it's taking what is now 80% of classical literature and dumbing it down to 50%. Will have anything to do with classical literature. The rest will be teaching the kids just enough skills to read a computer manual. My minor was in English in college, and I know how valuable classical English literature is because you learn such great truths from classical literature. You learn how to make wise decisions and what is truth, and you learn what deception is, and kids will not be learning that. You also learn what freedom means and liberty, and it goes along with their own history. They won't know their own history anymore either.
Well, I see that Bill and Melinda Gates gave $100 million from the Gates Foundation to Common Core. We know that they are population control people. I mean, it seems they've got their fingers into as much as George Soros does. Oh, my goodness, they're just crazy.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, in turn, have much to benefit by this because when every student is now using a computer in the schools, I'm sure many of those will be the Microsoft Gates owns. And what is also interesting, they are partnered with the biggest publishing company in the world. It's called Pearson Foundation, and Pearson is the one that will be doing all of the e-books. And they're a very liberal group that comes out of England, and it's amazing how powerful they are. They have taken over just about every publishing company, but they allow the publishing company to keep its name. So they've taken over nonfiction and fiction and 100 of the education publishing companies.
Yeah, it's like our media that are now only owned by 5 huge corporations, where before it was 50 or 100, now we're down to 5, and so it sounds like the same thing to me.
Like a monopoly.
I noticed in your book here you talk about Sir Michael Barber's mantra, Deliveryology, that he has written a book about it specifically for Americans entitled Deliverology 101, apparently describing how to, quote, deliver, right, education reform, the global phenomena, and evidently no longer to be managed by individuals or sovereign countries. So this is on the international level, too. This isn't just here. We know that President Obama prides himself on being, quote, a citizen of the world. We know even as senator, he was the one that put forth the bill to have the UN global taxation. We know that he favors this. So Common Core, tell us how that ties in with the global picture and agenda.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up because this is really so crucial to find out about. Sir Michael Barber was actually knighted by Queen Elizabeth because he had done such reforms in England. So she's obviously on the same page with him and his globalist concept. To him, Common Core equals global education. And because he just happens to work for the Pearson Publishing Company, he is their chief education representative, and the Pearson Company now has offices in 70 other nations. That is how they're able to push this Common Core through all of those other countries. And that's exactly what he is all about. He believes that, as you said, we're not really supposed to have sovereign nations anymore. We're supposed to have one big global government, and Common Core is leading the way for that. And if you think that these other countries, all on the same page with Common Core, have anything different to teach about their history or their sovereignty, it's putting everyone in the same mindset that they are all global citizens, and there is no one nation that's supposed to have any dominance over any other. And it's amazing how he's having such influence as he travels around speaking. And he has this interesting formula that says systematic innovation plus sameness of standards plus structure plus human capital equals a whole system revolution. So he's out there to revolutionize education, and how he speaks about our children as if they're just robots, all out there being transformed through their minds, and that's when it gets really scary.
Wow. Orlean, where's the best place to get a hold of this book that's for $15 or 2 for $25? What's the best way to get a hold of this?
Or they can get 10 for $100. And I'm hoping everyone will want to at least get 2 so they can pass one on to a school board member. Go to our website. It's www.smallhelmpress.org.
Look for Common Core, a Trojan Horse for Education Reform by Orlean Koehle.
I'm hoping that in this election time, everyone will start asking people who are running for office what they know about Common Core. If they don't know, maybe it'll whet their curiosity to find out. Here in Santa Rosa, I called up all of those who were running for school board and asked what they knew about it. It was amazing how little they knew. One man had never even heard the term. One woman said, it's just like a freight train. There's nothing we can do to stop it. I don't like it, but there's no stopping it. Well, I think there is. And my last chapter, I give other examples of things people thought were freight trains and no stopping. And once parents and educators themselves become aware of this, then we can really start working together to stop it. And I've also formed a coalition in California, the website that's called Californians United Against Common Core. And I think that's the only way we're going to fight this and stop it, is to be united with lots of different groups. That's how they've been able to do it in Utah. And they have a Utahns Against Common Core that has an amazing website with all sorts of information. And I'm hoping we can do the same thing here.
We have to take a break here. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Changing Worldviews with Sharon Hughes, the late afternoon commute show that knows the importance of bringing concise commentary on the day's news.
Bibles that were later burned by the U.S. government. These holy books were confiscated about a year ago at Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan. An independent film aired by the Al Jazeera network had shown evangelical soldiers worshiping at Bagram and talking about ways to share their faith.
One of my proudest moments was when we were able to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. It was not an easy process. There were some who doubted whether we'd ever get it done. This is done.
No sitting president has ever done what Barack Obama did yesterday.
And it's not just a matter of head, it's a matter of heart. It's who I am. It's what I care about.
It's time to wake up, America. Radical agendas that are finding ways to mainstream themselves into public policy, including here in the United States. It's time to pay attention and read between the words of the speeches of our leaders, from our president all the way down, and take off the rose-colored glasses and look at things as they really are.
If you'd like to change the world, won't you partner with us? For a donation of $15 a month, you'll receive our monthly Best of the Best program on CD and Sharon's monthly Saying It Like It Is letter. Just go to changingworldviews.com/donation page and sign up online. Or send your first $15 donation to Changing Worldviews, P.O. Box 750624, Petaluma, California 94975-0624.
And now, with a look at what's happening on the legal front, the president of the Pacific Justice Institute, Brad Dacus.
The rights of Christians today are threatened from every direction. Churches across America are being attacked by city councils and hostile neighbors, unlike ever before in our nation's history. The government is increasingly pluralistic and tolerant of everyone but Christians. It is essential to remember that the right to religious freedom is guaranteed by our Constitution, and it is in this hour that we must be willing to stand and fight for our rights with the love and compassion of Christ. If your right to religious expression is being threatened, contact us at pji.org today. I'm Brad Dacus.
To find out more about The Legal Edge, call 916-857-6900 or log on at pacificjustice.org.
Every country on earth at the moment is reforming public education. There are two reasons for it. The first of them is economic. People are trying to work out, how do we educate our children to take their place in the economies of the 21st century? How do we do that? Given that we can't anticipate what the economy will look like at the end of next week, as the recent turmoil is demonstrating. How do we do that? The second, though, is cultural. Every country on earth is trying to figure out, how do we educate our children so they have a sense of cultural identity and so that we can pass on the cultural genes of our communities while being part of the process of globalization. How do we square that circle? The problem is they're trying to meet the future by doing what they did in the past. And on the way, they're alienating millions of kids who don't see any purpose in going to school. When we went to school, we were kept there with a story, which was if you worked hard and did well and got a college degree, you would have a job. Our kids don't believe that. And they're right not to, by the way. You're better having a degree than not, but it's not a guarantee anymore. And particularly not if the route to it marginalizes most of the things that you think are important about yourself. Some people say we have to raise standards as if this is a breakthrough.
Well, that's it for today, truth lovers. And remember, truth is truth and can stand up against any investigation, whether we're talking about public policy or we're talking about what we talked about today. When all the dust settles, truth will still be standing. And of course, real truth lovers understand that it is equally important how you state the truth as that you do state the truth. So don't forget, set your dial at 4:30 p.m. West Coast time. If you missed any of our shows, just go to changingworldviews.com, take you to our broadcast archives. Also on changingworldviews.com, you can get the latest on the news on the issues that we talk about every day on the show. You can sign up for my free email newsletter. You can take our poll and also find take action items that are very important, need your attention. And also you can find out where I'll be speaking next or how to invite us to speak to your group. So until I see you next time, this is Sharon Hughes saying it like it is.
Thanks for listening to Changing Worldviews with Sharon Hughes. You can get more information on today's topic or order a CD of today's show by visiting changingworldviews.com or writing us at Changing Worldviews, P.O. Box 750624, Petaluma, California, 94975-0624. You can also contact us at talk@changingworldviews.com. That's talk@changingworldviews.com. Our program is listener-supported, and we appreciate your tax-deductible donations to help us get the truth out on the important issues Sharon addresses on the show. So until next time, remember, stay alert, stay informed. We live in a changing world.